At a distance of thousands of miles away from our country, in the heart of Europe, there are people who treat us like close relatives. It is the Hungarian kuns, close relatives of kipchaks. According to some historical data, parts of Kipchak tribes from Kazakhstan moved to Hungary in the 18th century. However, there are not only close historical roots between the two countries, but also political, of a very strategic level. Officially, Budapest repeatedly stated that Kazakhstan for Hungary is a strategic partner in Central Asia and that it is ready to serve as a gateway to Europe for our country. Minister of Foreign Economic Relations and Foreign Affairs of Hungary, Peter Siyyarto, talks about the key areas of bilateral cooperation on our today's program, Persona Grata.
Hungary runs a pragmatic strategy of foreign policy, and we run a strategy which we call Eastern Opening. And in this strategy we put a lot of emphasis on improving the partnership and the cooperation between the rapidly emerging markets which are to be found east of us. And Kazakhstan plays a very important role in this respect because you are our most significant trading partner in the Central Asian region. Although, unfortunately, the war in Ukraine and the sanctions and the countermeasures from Russia have not only an impact on European economies and Russian and Ukrainian economy, rather than on the economies of Central Asia as well. And this altogether has an impact on our bilateral cooperation, which has been suffering a little bit since last year. Figures show that very clearly. So we had to identify territories where we could improve and give another impetus to the economic and trade cooperation. We understood that Kazakhstan is going to launch a investment and development plan worth of $24 billion in the next 3 years. We hope that Hungarian companies can play a part in this. That's why we have established a joint financial and investment fund with a contribution of $20 million both from the side of both governments. And Hungarian Exim Bank has opened up a 45 million euro credit line in order to support the cooperation between Kazakh and Hungarian SMEs. And we understood that you are just about to introduce the tolling system here. There's a Hungarian state-owned company which has very significant experiences in that. Negotiations are going on. And we are just a couple of steps away of launching the new direct flight between the two countries, which should have a very positive effect on both on our touristic and both on our economic and trade cooperation. I met with your Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, Minister of Economy, Minister of Development, Speaker of the Senate, Deputy Speaker of the Lower House, and I was very happy that you consider us as friends. We can be sure that we consider Kazakhstan as a friendly nation as well. And we are very proud that we have recognized your country among the first ones in 1991. And we really try to put more and more emphasis on further developing the cooperation between the two countries.
According to the minister, Eastern Vector today is an important component of the foreign policy of Hungary. The placement of priorities towards East happened due to a number of circumstances, the key of which is to serve energy security and necessity to find new markets.
Our predecessors have not put any emphasis, unfortunately, on building well-functioning and strategic cooperation to the countries which are east of us. And we have to admit that the most rapidly growing economies are east from us, you know. So Of course, we are a member of NATO, we are a member of the European Union, we have traditional partners with which we are operating on a very active basis. But we have to make up what we have lost in the previous years when we didn't really pay attention to the world which is east of us. And that's why we try to build up a strategic and very tight cooperation with the countries like the ones here in Central Asia, with the Caucasian region, with the Far East, with China, with Japan. And we see that if we invest, time, capacity, energy in it, then it works. And we usually break export records to certain countries like China, like Japan, so the results are there already.
Political career of Peter Siyyarto began very early, when he was still a student. When he was 20, he joined the Party of Civic Union of Young Democrats. He was elected as a member of a small-town municipality. Within 3 years, the young politician was elected in the National Assembly of Hungary, and at the age of 23, he became the youngest member in the politics. In 2012, Peter Siyyarto was appointed as the State Secretary in the office of the Prime Minister of Hungary and was responsible for the development and the implementation of foreign policy and economic strategy of the country.
I'm coming from a family which is not very much motivated regarding politics, but it is a very deeply anti-communist family and a deeply Catholic family. So along with my sister, we have learned discipline back at home. And my grandparents suffered a lot during the communist times because their parents had a private company. They were company owners, entrepreneurs, and those kind of people were not really the favorite ones of the communist dictatorship in Hungary. So they were negatively discriminated, of course, a lot. So we have very deep anti-communist tradition in the family. And actually, I was enrolled in a church school in high school, which was run by the Benedictines, where I have learned a lot about how the world's operating, how we should behave in a proper way, how we should be committed and responsible for our community, not only for ourselves, So after leaving high school and starting university, I really wanted to do something for the community and to take part in community action. And of course, if someone joins politics in Hungary and is a radical anti-communist like myself, coming from family tradition, it was obvious to join a party called Fidesz, which was one of the key players of the system change and transition in Hungary. The president of the party, which is currently the prime minister, was the first public figure in Hungary to claim for the Soviet troops to leave Hungary. So he's a legendary politician and still prime minister of the country. So I joined that party, and I joined the party's youth organization as well. And there's usually an agreement before every elections between the party and the youth organization that a couple leaders of the youth organization receive some good spots on the list, on the election list of the party, in order to make the parliament to reflect the opinion of the youngsters as well. That's how I made the parliament first time in 2002. That was the first time I gained a seat, and since 2002 I have been in politics. I have held various positions in parliament and in the party as well. The biggest, the most significant effect on myself was coming, of course, from the party president, current prime minister, with whom I've been working personally since 2006. I served as his spokesman and communication director and then chief of staff. And as he was elected prime minister again in 2010, I served as spokesman for the prime minister. And then from 2012 as a state secretary of the prime minister's office dealing with foreign affairs. And after we won election in 2014, I was transferred to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where I worked as a deputy minister for almost half a year, a little bit less. And then after the former foreign minister left for European Commission, and he's now European Commissioner for Education, Youth and Culture, I took over his position based on the appointment of the Prime Minister. So that's how I got here. And actually, you know, I really enjoy and I really like what's my job, my profession. I graduated as an economist, so I really do like this new approach of our foreign policy that economic interest is in the focus. So actually this is what I have learned in university, and now I can do it in practice.
Peter Siyyarto is convinced that Hungarian foreign policy calls for change in the new world order, and it must be reoriented to promote the economic interests of the Hungarians. He has made every effort and contribution to its development. Colleagues of Mr. Siyyarto highlight his high performance in the workplace and call him a robot. Foreign Minister of Hungary himself is convinced that only full dedication in work can yield results.
You know, when I was enrolled at the Benedictine High School, we had the morning service in church at 5:45. So I got used to get up early. And since the morning TV shows are very early as well, that doesn't mean any kind of difficulty for me. Or in the evenings, during high school or in university, I have always studied long until the evening. So I mean, it's nothing. There's no difference. You start early in the morning and you finish late in the evening. Of course, since I'm the minister, I'm the leader. I have to work the most. That's not a question. I have to show the example. I demand a lot from my colleagues, that's for sure. But, you know, the world is changing so rapidly, and in order to overcome the challenges is very demanding. So we have to work more than we used to work before. And I understand that there are some colleagues around me who just cannot get used to it. Okay, but those ones who have been working with me for a long time, they already know me, and they picked up the speed, you know. So with a couple guys, colleagues who are at the same age with me and have been friends actually for a long time, we form a good team. And sooner or later, the others who are around this team, you know, start to get along and get used to it. And I have to tell you that the Prime Minister is working even more than me. So it was a very good practice for me to work with him, personally with him, like for 6 years. I have seen so many situations in politics, in foreign affairs, and internal in the economy that that helps me a lot to solve the problems and challenges which are occurring nowadays. And you know, it's the same in the private sphere. And since we are dealing with trade and in investments and foreign companies and direct investments and with the private sector as general, we cannot afford, you know, not to work in the afternoon of Friday, because in the private sector they work in the afternoon of Friday. So I had to push my colleagues that it's not enough, you know, to work until 2 p.m. at Friday and then go home, because it's a working day as the others from Monday through Thursday. But now we get along, and I think those ones who remain and stay, they understand this new kind of philosophy. You know, if we don't work that much, then the others, our competitors, will work that much, and we will take advantage of this, and we just cannot afford ourselves to have disadvantages. But I think there's nothing special, because everyone works a lot. So regardless whether you work in politics or in economy, or you know, you are blue or white color, it doesn't matter. You have to work a lot nowadays. The world is about that. There has been major, profound and quick changes going on in the world, especially in the field of world economy and world politics and defense as well. And under these circumstances, the big and strong countries try to realize their national interests, national economic interests, through foreign affairs as well, which is normal. I've read the book of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, where she writes that the ultimate goal is to create more jobs for the Americans, which is normal. That's what we do with the Hungarians as well. So, fulfilling the diplomatic tasks is very important, and we have to do it 100%, but it's not enough now. Based on a good diplomatic achievement, we have to use it as a basis and then realize the national interest, national economic interest. So, our economic interests are in the focus of our foreign policy. We have to help Hungarian export to grow, we have to attract more investments to Hungary, we have to increase the industrial achievement in the country through foreign direct investments. So at the end of the day, to create more jobs for Hungarian people. This is our goal and this is our task. So I'm very happy to be able to attract some formerly successful businessmen to work for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. My deputy, for example, used to be a very successful businessman, leader of the investment agencies, used to be a very successful businessman, because I understand that we have to put these kind of issues in the focus. If you have a look at the foreign strategy of big and strong countries, you see the same, that they try to realize national economic interest through foreign affairs as well. And that's what we have to do. That's how I instruct our ambassadors, that's how I instruct my colleagues, and that's how I transform the ministry.
Kazakhstan and Hungary are on the threshold of a new stage of mutual relations, and the minister has a great optimism in their future development. Peter Siyyarto, looking back on his life, says that everything that has been made along the way has its own value. You've been watching Persona Grata. See you next time.